Welcome to Vox Stream, a Kill Team podcast where we aim to help players of all skill levels supercharge their game and separate the signal from the noise. I'm Mark Meyer, joined by Kill Team heavyweights George Pratt and Joe Gallo. We're coming to you from the Triangle region in North Carolina. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. All right, y'all, back with another episode. We have George Pratt back from his sabbatical. Hope you're feeling better, George.
I'm not, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, you were down bad for like 10 days. I know that you're still not doing great, but I am definitely happy to hear you back amongst the living.
Yes.
Also joined by Joe. Joe, what's going on, bro?
Not much, man. Just glad George is alive.
Me too.
It is physically painful to sit at my computer desk.
Wash your hands, people. Wash your hands.
Before we launch into the meat and potatoes today, did want to take a second to shout out all of the guest spots we did last week. Had a great time talking with Travis and JFay on Just Another Kill Team podcast, talking about sportsmanship, talking about teams we've been playing, stuff like that. That was a ton of fun. Also had a great time chatting with the folks over at Vox Cascadia. It was really nice to meet Chuck, Tyler, Connor. That was a awesome, wild conversation. Just kind of went all over the place. It was fun to let the other people know about what's going on here in the Triangle. And I mean, in both times, it was a lot of fun to just get the word out about the Cherokee Open. Joe, did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. Really glad to be on those podcasts and discuss my favorite game with cool people, and hope to expand that in the future. And, you know,
I'm glad I did all the hard work of setting up those collabs and then got too fucking sick to join them. Hooray.
Yeah, I felt very bad for you because you did literally organize them and you were like really pushing it.
That's okay. I'll fall down on the sword for content.
But anyway.
Yeah, I think we have to kind of get down to business here. We've had the balanced data slate. We're recording this on Sunday night, so we've definitely had at least a little bit of chance to, or a little bit of time to play with some of these teams, see how some of these changes are shaking out. Do you guys want to do just a quick initial impressions before we dig into what happened to the top teams?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as an overall, just like the heavy barricade, this is a good direction balance slate, but it's a good direction. It didn't get us there.
Yeah. Honestly, I have to play a little bit more to get like a real feel for it. I get the sense that George is probably right. There are some things that need to be probably still adjusted. But I do think the game competitively is in a much more playable state. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as miserable as it was the first couple of months. I don't think you're going to be seeing quite as much dominance from Warpcoven, thankfully. But there are some like spots that we'll talk about that I'm a little concerned about, especially since some teams didn't get touched.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you both. I think that overall, I like the changes I've seen. I think that some of the overall changes like that to the heavy barricade are really good. I liked the buffs and I liked the nerfs. I think that it's going to be a lot better in sort of like the lower and mid tables, just playing casual games locally. I think that things are going to be different, better, but also to George's point, I don't think it's going to be like a radical shift. I still think that a lot of the best teams are still going to be really good. And I have another thought or two, but I want to get into talking about some of these actual changes before I get into what I think the thesis for the meta is going to be going forward. Let's talk about Warpcoven, because they had probably the most changes.
Yeah, a lot of changes. I think they honestly probably did everything that I would change about Warpcoven. I think Warpcoven are fine now.
They got fucked.
Yeah, deservedly so. Particularly putting the rubrics back to 3-up saves, kind of tampering down on some of the reliability they have. Also, the Zangors can't just do whatever they want now. That was a big one.
The full range, full seek, lethal, full devastating. Can't get all that on one fucking barrier anymore. And it's no longer full seek. It's seek light, which it should have been in the first place.
Yeah, agreed. And you know, I think Obviously, those Rubiks were like damn near impossible to kill. And now I think they're much easier to kill.
Yeah, now they're just really hard to kill.
Yeah, and that's the kind of you'll hear this over and over again. That in certain areas, yes, things have been adjusted in a good spot for Warpcoven, but people are going to still struggle to kill base marines, and I don't. There might need to. I'll be honest. I might be on George's bandwagon of making plasma damage go back to where it was.
Well, damage is fine. I think we don't need to get into this, but we'll talk about plasma later.
Right, but I just wanted to mention it because I know that it's one of your bugbears.
I have a lot to say about plasma guns.
I think the thing that I like the most about these changes is that I think the things that made the team good are still great. I like that they didn't touch Fate itself as my weapon, because I think it's such a flavorful ploy that's really, really strong. And I think it's just, I think it's perfect almost. I also like that the other thing that kind of bleeds over from the last edition, obviously all of the piercing 1 guns are just still going to be really, really strong, especially into the matchup against other elites. I think that all of these changes that were brought on were definitely warranted, but where it's at right now, I think that this is still going to be like an A-tier team, at least, right? What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
Still good, but now it's going to require even more brain power to get there.
Yeah, I think honestly, what you're going to see is you're going to see those top tables shift away from Warpcoven, and a lot of people they're just going to default to Legionary again. I think personally, we'll see what swing, because it really is going to depend on how much people want to play elves. Because as we are not particularly going to discuss, because there wasn't really any changes made to elves, they're quite good at killing marines, and they are very, very fast and are fragile, but don't have a lot of particular weaknesses outside of being fragile.
I would just like to point out that while they are good at killing marines, I won every elf match at LVO with my angels.
Yes, so and like I said,
they are not auto wins against marines.
No, certainly fragile. not. They're not auto win for sure.
Yeah. So like,
but yeah. So I think you're going to see people switch to Legionnaire. I think is going to be the top table change.
Do you think that Warpcoven still have that sort of higher skill ceiling than Legionnaire? Do you think that a specialist is going to be able to get more out of Warpcoven than that same dedicated player is going to be able to get out of Legionary?
I can't remember the name of the player from Worlds, George or Moore, whatever his name is. People like that who I know for a fact have been like playing the shit out of Warpcoven for years at this point will still do extremely well.
Yeah, we were Warpcoven. We were swapping tactics with Warpcoven when Warpcoven came out.
Yep. So people like him will still do very well with them. I'll be honest, they are still annoying to face. Like, it is people are gonna, and I'm gonna make this prediction right now. People in like 2-3 months are probably gonna still say, we need to hit Warpcoven again. It would not shock me if people still felt that way about Warpcoven and maybe even Legionnaire.
I think they're in very good spots where they are. They can still win. They still require, but they require more brain power, especially Legionary. Legionary aren't just going to steamroll over boards anymore.
Yeah, agreed. And I just think that I do think people are still going to complain about these two teams because they just feel like such a hump to get over. And I think that's kind of my summation is that a lot of these teams don't necessarily need to get hit. I think we need to bring the bottom up quite a bit more than what's necessary or what's been done. So yeah.
But like, speaking of Legionary, like these changes to Legionary, I like a lot.
Oh, I love them. I think Legionnary's in a perfect spot personally. I think they're now like very weak to like piercing crits and piercing guns. Melta will severely cripple or just kill them outright, which is good. Not a lot and that's the thing too, is there's not a lot of teams that have access to AP2 guns anymore, or at least I think there are no teams that have access to more than one AP2 gun.
Yeah, Inquisition got nerfed. They can only take one piercing 2.
Yeah, so that's the other thing is Inquisition obviously got moved down. Inquisition's in a weird spot.
I think Corsairs and Hand of the Archon
cannot. Hand of the Archon can.
There you go.
Yes, because they have the blaster and the Dark Lance or the blast pistol. It's either or.
Blast pistol sucks.
Yeah, it does. Agreed. You obviously would take the Dark Lance there, and that's the other thing too. George brought it up. A Hand of the Archon and Corsairs might be the two best elite killers in the game now, just because those guns are just way more effective now, particularly the Dark Lance.
Warpcoven and Stalker Bolt Rifle Angels are very good at killing elites as well.
Oh my god, yeah. I think those Stalker Bolt Rifles are... Yeah, be prepared, because people are going to be... Well, this is the next team people are going to be complaining about. People are going to be complaining about Angels of Death next. They are going to feel oppressive with... Because basically they... whether through comboing with Sharpshooter or just taking Stalker Bolt Rifles, basically all of their guns are AP1, effectively, or have the ability... Nice. Yeah, and it's also when they can both shoot twice, they can very easily shoot through hordes.
I played a game as Angels into Plague Marines, and every time I had to double fire my Stalker into a Plague Marine, but every time I decided, all right, shoot that Plague Marine, I picked it up off the board.
Yep. And that is, I don't, that's the thing is, I don't know. We'll have to see what the win rates look like, because I don't know if that needs to be changed, like I said, or if my sense is that things need to be brought up, like I said already, but that it is very strong. It is very, very strong.
Well, don't worry, because they fixed the whole second floor vantage thing. Now you can ledge guard fight the permanent silent sniper from Angels of Death. So it's okay. There's nothing to see here, folks.
What? Designers, GW designers, whoever made this particular thing, I get it. You want to keep it like a part of the game, and this was like some happy medium that you guys came to of like. So for those of you who don't know, now effectively people are jokingly saying you have an anime fight on the top of the tower, because if you want to charge somebody but their whole base covers, you can now fight them in the air. But you have to put your base on the least covering part. It's so needlessly complicated. When I wish they would just not use it for tournament play. I know that's not going to happen. I know for a fact that's not going to happen. But it is so needlessly complicated to have this weird you're in the combat zone but not in the combat zone thing. We'll see. I'll have to see how it works out in play, but it is so poorly worded. New players are going to have a nightmare trying to figure this out.
If you're up there, you're not invulnerable, is really what it boils down to.
Yes, but it's not. I wish that it said that, but that's not what it says.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have been batting around just making it exposed. You don't get cover up there. I think that's fine. I think that's a very easy way to fix it. Well,
that's the thing is they clearly didn't want to do that. They made a very clear distinction. No, we are not going that route.
Yeah, they want you to be able to not get shot up there, and that's fine. They want you to be able to fight somebody up there, but it is, to your point, very complicated. I think it's more complicated than any argument I ever had about obscuring in the last edition. So I think that's a good, level set for it. I'm going to take a moment here to pour one out for infiltration. I've been saying on the pod for about a month now, I think infiltration's got some play, especially from all of these teams that can play gather surveillance really well by just zipping up there to the second floor vantage and gathering surveillance untouched the rest of the game. That's just so much harder to do now. And so I will admit that you guys were both right, and infiltration is awful. It's grim out there.
Grim dark, some would say.
Let me ask you this, guys, because I think that one of the biggest points of contention on Legionnaires was the Slaanesh ploy, Quicksilver Speed. What do you two think about the changes for that?
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly what we asked. Is that just put a movement requirement on it? And I believe they took you can only be fighting, you can't retaliate now with it, right? I believe.
Yeah,
correct.
So you don't get it on retaliate. You have to have moved in order to get the fighting thing, and then from shooting, you have to be more than 6 inches from the guy who moved.
So from the fighting
great things.
From the fighting perspective, it's just the Banshee mask rule basically now, which is nice because I think while the people would agree Banshees on Blades of Cain is when the Banshees are fighting, it feels oppressive, but it's not. It's only when they're the aggressor. So I think that if it fits much more in the lore too of just how Slaanesh is aggressive and stuff like that. So good adjustments. The 6-inch change too, also really great. Yeah, good changes overall. I don't think it needs any more adjusting. I think it is exactly where it needs to be.
I definitely like the changes to the icon bearer. I also
Yes. Oh
think
my
that the
God. Thank
changes
God.
the changes that they made to the Plague Marine icon bearer, I think that both of those are very reasonable. You know, it's too much free value to just be able to sit on conceal on your home objective and get a bunch of free ploys or free CP.
Yeah.
And the Chosen can't just heal himself to full after every fight.
Yeah, you know what's crazy, and I don't see anyone talking about this. Plague Marines got touched, and they came out fairly recently. That is the first. I think that might be the most like closest to release change they've done to a team.
Well, because they came out in November. They came out right around the time that the FAQ came out, I think.
Yes.
So that's about 3 months. Sure, it's a little bit early in the cycle for them, but I also don't think that it seems out of place. Like if they
I don't think it does either. I just thought it was
I mean, I think
interesting.
that if they had touched Rekkas or Ratlings, it would have been weird because I just don't think that we know enough at this point.
I will say on that point too, because you just said it. Another prediction: Ratlings are going to be very good right now. I'd be afraid of Ratlings. They are going to be very good.
Yeah, I think Ratlings are good. I think that they're going to remain a very high skill ceiling team that's really hard to play, you know.
Yes, I think they are. I think they are the new Pathfinders in terms of like hard to play but super oppressive when played well.
A lot of people also, in terms of Legionary, there's been some consternation about the change to Fickle Fates, which was, I believe, the firefight ploy for
weird change,
Tzeentch.
very weird change.
It basically gives you ceaseless in shooting now.
So
Instead
why
of severe? I think this is a buff.
It is.
I think
it's not even a question. It is a buff.
It's definitely a buff, but it's also a buff for a team that's more of a melee team than a shooting team. But also, I think it's really, I mean, you're going to have a Tzeentch Balefire and a Tzeentch Melta, right? So,
well, the Tzeentch, the baseline is now you get ceaseless, right?
So Tzeentch still gets severe. Fickle Fates used to give punishing.
Yes.
So it was a free hit essentially. I think ceaseless is still better than punishing.
Yes.
But like I've played Legionary as a shooting team with Acolyte, heavy weapon, gunner, the leader with his bolt pistol because it's 3/5 rending. So rending severe is crazy on that. And like the last guy was I think anointed or whatever, some melee dude because you can only do 5 shooty dudes. Like you could do I did a bolter icon bearer. And like it was really strong. Like shooting Legionary is really strong.
Yeah, I think man, I'm a little sad this team is going out soon because I think that they got him in such an interesting spot now that like they almost feel like the way like Angels of Death feels in terms of like how many different ways you can now play them. Like for example, when we were talking with Just Another Kill Team, Jay Fay was talking about doing the Mark French method of running all corn essentially, and taking advantage of making those chain swords 5/6 and just running and screaming at your opponent. I think it's a completely valid way to play that team now. Same with your shooting comp. I think it's so flexible, so fun, and so flavorful, and it makes me sad they're going away.
A lot of the bottom teams got buffed.
Minorly.
Yeah, let's talk about the bottom 2 teams, Breachers and Vespids. Breachers, I think, did not get nearly enough. The only change they got is they got their free attack or defense order as long as the sergeant's alive. And I think Brace for Counterattack got a little better. So instead of damage of 4, it's damage of 3 or more.
Yeah, and that only procs if you are within your territory.
Yeah, so Brace got a side grade.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a little bit of a tough change for a team that, I mean, they're going to get a little bit of additional play from just the changes to the piercing reduction ploys. Like Melta overall, Melta is better, right? Melta is, good into the matchups it needs to be good into again. But I don't think that's necessarily enough to really just kind of say, here, we're just going to, give you a free ploy and, go nuts. I mean, the damage reduction is fine, but like this is a team that used to like kind of have the breakpoints figured out because of the extra wound
and they had 12 bodies, not 10, not 11 or whatever it is, because the cat and skull are half, and they, you know, it was straight up 12 bodies, and people would drop the cat and skull, and so it would just be 12 shotguns.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. I don't know if they're actually going to like. So the thing is that we have like with the whole like going out of classified and not classified, right? The next step on the chopping block is all the Into the Dark teams, right? So I think I hope this doesn't happen.
No, it's Octarius stuff, and then
Well, I'm saying after Octarius. I'm saying after Octarius.
that's like still years away.
Well, isn't it only one more year?
No, it's like an entire season away.
The prediction would be that the Into the Dark teams are phased out basically in like the fall or winter of 2026. So like 18 months minimum.
Okay, cool. So I misinterpreted the way it works.
It's you can if you go on the app, it's got like a how to run an event thing, and then that has a timeline and everything.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I think it's an interesting dynamic of like you want to incentivize people to play these teams, right? But at the end of the day, like you have a release schedule and things like that, and what sells versus what doesn't sell. And I have, unfortunately, a theory regarding like what is and isn't getting support, right? So like Breachers clearly needed a lot more. And I don't know why they didn't do the amount of change. Like I think they at like a 0% play rate or something crazy like that.
Yeah, for like an entire month or something.
Right. And to me, like given the amount of changes Warpcoven got, right? Would that not prompt the design team to give like on the backside the same amount of changes to a team that has a literal 0% play / even win rate? Like it's such a strange. I mean, my guess is that they were on a constrained timeline and they're just like, oh, let's just throw this out because the game is such a bad state right now. But it just keeps getting to me of like, I think that this edition just got rushed out, and I don't think it was ready. And we are in such a weird design space right now where there's so many teams that need to be lifted up. And now we're on this like 3-month cycle of like, oh, now we gotta start doing designing the next balance data slate, right? And just keep constraining on top of whatever other two new teams are on the horizon.
I've got a secret for you.
Yeah.
As the director of operations for a fairly large influential company, there is no such thing as not constrained. There is no such thing as not rushed out.
Sure, agreed.
Everything is rushed out. There is no plan. There's standard operating procedures that no one follows. It's just the way that business works.
Sure. I mean, that's fair.
It's also almost certainly the same team that does the balanced data slate that is making rules for 2 new teams right now, and is like beginning to make rules for 2 more teams, in the very near future after that.
Which is why I'm happy they're doing classified status, because we need it.
Yeah, I think that ultimately that change is good. Well, I mean, I'm kind of trying to think through what would Breachers need.
Their bodies back. I don't know why they took their bodies away. It doesn't make any sense.
Because of the way that the new faction selection works, they can't have the same number of bodies and still be a legal 1-box kill team. That's why.
Oh, well, I mean, that's true about Deathcore. Well, I guess Deathcore is
Deathcore got 10 dudes and 4 free ploys. Literally, what about Inquisitorial Agents? Cannot have... Inquisitorial Agents have never been a 1-box kill team. That's always been an absolute fuck you to your wallet. Like, no one... Even when it was released in Access. To me, that just doesn't seem like, just because, I mean, but there are some teams like that. I mean, for example, any of that applies to any of the White Dwarf Inquisitorial
teams.
Agents isn't even a kill team box anymore. Like, you can't buy a kill team branded Inquisitorial Agents box. That's $40K now.
Well, no. So that's funnily enough that's not true. They have both. It's both.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can spend like $2 or $3 more for the kill team box, and it has the tokens.
Sure. Yeah. Whatever.
But as
It's
I'm
so
saying,
stupid.
it's even dumber than you thought.
But like stuff to make them actually better on the table. Like I think that +1 wound is probably a very easy change for them.
I still don't think it's enough.
I don't think it's enough either, but I think that it's something that I would expect to see. I don't know, man. Like
I genuinely, I'm at a loss for this team. I mean, it's because the problem is like anything, like I have a few crazy ideas, but like, I mean, the thought that immediately popped in my head, give them 4 shotguns. That immediately popped into my head. But that seems like a dumb idea.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. I don't know.
I mean, same number of exaction, right?
Exactly. Right.
Exaction got 8 wounds and a 4-up save.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a good comparison. Like, comparing like Extraction to Breacher Squad, right? Extraction has like a much more defined identity.
Exaction.
Yeah, Joe, I gotta say, you can't keep saying Extraction, man. That's a mission, not a kill team.
Wait, I'm sorry. How are you saying it?
Exaction.
Exaction.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Got it. Exaction Squad. Got it. The Space Cops. So the Space Cops have like this defined personality, and the rules revolve around it. And I think like the change to the data slate tried to put breachers in a more defensive direction of like how breachers you would think theoretically would play. They set up your little quadrant of defense, don't let your opponent breach your lines. You're better if they're trying to breach your lines, so on and so forth. Whereas like the Space Cops are more like tie up your enemy, harass your enemy, and then blast them in the face, right? And I just think they just don't know where to go with breachers, and they just are kind of throwing something out there and seeing if it works. And it's not. I don't think have we seen a single breachers player in our league?
No.
I mean, I think that a lot of people are just it's out of flavor, right? Like even if it was good, would people really play it? Probably not, just because I don't think that there's a lot of really like.
I do. Oh my god, I love the breacher models.
You're not going to play them. You're going to play scouts. Like that's the thing is, there's a lot of people who like guard kill teams in our meta, but they are going like Jeff.
They're looking for guardsmen.
Jeff wants to play Ratlings because it's the new Imperium faction. If you're somebody who likes to play a guard style kill team, you're going to play Blooded or you're going to play Brood Brothers. Because it's the same kind of thing, but it's just, better options, right? Like, what are your good options with breachers right now? The Axe Jack, okay, that's fine. The Endurant, that's fine.
Axe Jack still slaps. But that's one model on the team.
Exactly. So that's the thing, is it's just they don't have a niche right now. I think the only nice thing I can say about it is this is a team that plays contain pretty well, right? Because you want to stay on your side and play defensive, but I just don't think it's enough to do that. And especially one thing I really kind of came to the conclusion of while playing Vetguard after their change is that you obviously need to have a really clearly defined game plan for your team when you're going into a game. And so this is a team that has to pick from security or seek and destroy. This is not a team that can, I think this team, like most teams, is just going to have a hard time playing seek and destroy into most matchups. But I mean, when you're playing security, like you're playing contain, unless you're on a map that makes sense to play take ground. And like I was playing with Vetguard earlier, and you couldn't play take ground against Warpcoven because they're just going to shit on you if you're just standing around in that room. So like this is a team that can play that style, that very defensive style of contain pretty well, just not well enough to justify taking it over so many other teams.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
Yeah.
What about Vespids? Like, is that a team that got enough changes to make them good enough to play?
No.
I think they did get enough changes to make them playable.
Oh, playable, certainly.
Yeah, because I played a singular game of Vespids before they got changed as my league game. Before I got real sick, and I absolutely smashed some Jaegers. Like, I lost a lot of momentum on turn 4, but I had enough momentum built up over the rest of the game where it didn't matter. Vespids are a team where your roles are so important, and you don't have extra APL to do anything extraneous. So you need to have a solid game plan going in. So the fact that now you can bank communion points, which is a big deal because on turn 1 I didn't use any, and I mostly use my communion points in my game as command rerolls rather than mission actions. Because you can just do 2 for free, and generally that's enough to score points. And the aerial drone, the guidance, whatever, giving you lethal 5-up is a huge deal.
So do you think that, like, let's say I'm a dedicated Vespid player, like I'm as good as good can get with that team. Do either of you think that I could take it to a top table and potentially like get podium?
Yes, I think with the changes now, that is not out of the realm of possibility. Is it going to be easy than almost any other team in the game? Fuck no.
Yeah.
But it is possible.
I think a great way to put it is that Vespids are viable now. Is it a team that you can put in a top tier in terms of like what's its percentage of getting to the top table and winning? You know, like let's say that an A tier team has like a 60 to 70% chance of doing that. I wouldn't put them in the A tier, you know. And obviously we're not making a tier list, but just as an example, this is a team that's lower on the totem pole, but absolutely viable and absolutely could win a tournament given the right sort of luck. You know, that was something I think I mentioned on Just Another Kill Team podcast last week, was there's a little bit of luck that goes into every single tournament run. How the bracket shakes out, what the matchups are. These are things that you don't have any control over. You only have control over your team and how you play them on the board. Obviously, you have control over like how you conduct yourself as a player too. That's a different conversation. But like these guys, Vespids, they can hang. You know, the idea of like what is their game plan, I think that they can play like, you know, confirm kill a little bit better now. I think that they can play you know, they're, if you're not spending all of your communion points to do rerolls, you could probably play the crit op a little bit. You could probably play Plant Beacon if you really wanted to. I think that they have a real and true path to victory.
Yeah, so I would actually say that they play Recon the worst, and they should be thinking about playing Storm Objective or Overrun more than anything else. Like, I
That
played
was my
Storm
thought, too.
Objective, and it felt really good to play Storm Objective with Vespids.
Yeah, because I know you. I think I told you all this. I one of my winnings from the Triad was a box of Vespids because I was anticipating this exact scenario, and I think I'm gonna give them a shout after Cherokee because I really like the models. I really like the models. They're just so fucking cool looking, and I was actually doing a little reading about Vespids lore and stuff like that, and they're a little cooler than I thought they were. So. Who knows? Because at that point, after Cherokee, we got to start talking about Nova prep, I guess, right?
Well, I think the next it's very interesting because I've been thinking about what does the tournament circuit look like in the Southeast, at least for us, right? The next big tournaments after Cherokee, you got Adepticon, but also the same weekend as Adepticon is currently slated to be the 6-round tournament for the Triad, their Q1 tournament. That sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I want to say
there's the Richmond Open in May.
Yeah, that you and I are still doing, George, potentially, hopefully. I mean, I bought my...
Yeah.
I'm going to join the Richmond Open as well, yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I bought my ticket for Richmond, so I'm going to...
Yeah, I bought the ticket in the hotel, so...
George, do you have a team that you want to really talk about after we covered just a couple of the best and worst teams and where their place is now? Do you have something else that's really hot with you?
I do. I want to talk about Chaos Cults.
This is a team that is on the come up. I know that some of our local players are saying that this is going to be like a sneaky, really good team.
So, Chaos Cult's entire game plan last edition was start turn 2 with 2 mutants, or 2 torments, and throw those torments at your opponent's face. In the beginning of this edition, they made it so that you could only get 1 torment max per mutation per turn, which it basically killed their entire game plan. Like, it just shut them down. They couldn't do anything, which is a damn shame. And in this last update, all they got was they can now get max 2 torments a turn, which is all they ever needed. So their game plan is back on. And they actually got a buff to Fervent Onslaught, where it was just accurate 1 in melee, which I love. I think is fantastic. But it's now accurate 2 for mutants and torments instead of just accurate 1 for them as well. So like, they have 5 dice and 2 guaranteed hits no matter what.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It sucks that they still have Seek and Infiltrate as their tac ops, but it looks like they'll have more of a path to playing Seek and playing it well for getting 2 torments like that.
So I think basically their game plan is back on, which means that they're going to be showing up and they're going to be doing about as well as it did last edition because they're mostly the same team as last edition at the end of last edition.
Joe, I think that you want to probably talk about one of your favorite teams that got a little bit of a buff.
Hell yeah, we did. Scouts, baby, Scouts. Scouts are back. So, two big changes. The big one and the most impactful one, in my opinion, is getting access to 6 scouting options, and the now new and mandatory one of being able to give one of your guys an APL during a strategic gambit. I played against Mandrakes yesterday. I lost because I'm an idiot, but that's not related to this. But with that buff, because my theory was with the buff is like, okay, so if I've set up on the board in such a way that I have multiple points of aggression going into like turning point initiative, I can just give that APL to the person that is the most able to get up there and just take advantage of this Astartes training and just pump 2 shotgun rounds into 2 mandrakes. I did exactly that, and I killed 2 mandrakes. That being able to just drop that in like crucial moments where you need aggression or wherever is super good. And then also, in addition to that, the targeting oculars are no longer garbage. Basically, it used to be just saturate the once per battle or once per turning point. You give one of your weapons, shooting weapons, saturate. Now it is twice per turn. You can give them saturate and lethal 5. This is fucking crazy. So
almost like GW figured out saturate is not good enough on its own.
Correct. And particularly why this is really good is now with the reroll buffs, a heavy bolter with that lethal 5 buff will consistently kill a Space Marine. So that's really good. And also you can put it on the missile launcher, which a lethal 5.7 AP1 missile launcher is comedic, to put it mildly. But you could also just, use it on one or use it twice on 2 shotgun shots if you really need to put down guys. The fact that it's just super flexible, you can put it wherever you need. Put it on your sniper. You could spike and get 12 mortal wounds on it if you roll all 5s and 6s. There's just so many like cool little things you can do with it. I do think it's enough to put them in contention. I really think like something small but meaningful like this is what they needed. I'm gonna test this theory out and see what happens at Cherokee Open with them. But they are going to be hard to play. I think they used to just kind of run over elves, and I kind of underestimated how much losing that body prevents that from happening anymore. And also, elves just got infinitely better. Like power swords running around.
7-inch movement as well.
Yes,
compared to the 6-inch movement makes that a much more asymmetrical fight than it seems on paper.
Yes, and I'll be honest, if you are looking at playing scouts, the blades, the blade warriors are okay, but I would highly recommend in most matchups just going shotgun spam. And my reason
shotguns
behind
go burr.
That, but also the blades upgrade you get with the equipment, making it 5-3 or 3-5. 3 attacks. While it doesn't seem good on paper, but I was pointing this out to a friend, is that basically if you're in a scenario where, for example, against any 8-wound team, most of them, I guess, unless they have parry shenanigans, this gets fucked up if they have like pre-parry shenanigans. But for example, if I'm in a position where I give a scout an extra APL, I charge and fight, and then they go, oh, I have a power sword in 3 attacks, I'm going to win this fight. You use Emboldened Aspirant to give them severe. Then you have the blade ambush because you're charging. I'm assuming in this scenario you're charging into an expended operative. If you charge into an expended operative, that also gives you ceaseless and then rending. So ceaseless, rending, severe, 3-5. You're likely going to hit all 3 attacks. That is a dead elf with 3 attacks, and then you give the extra APL out to shotgun somebody else And most players are not going to be thinking about that because they're like, oh, you have 3 attacks. That's terrible. And
If you kill in 2 hits, 3 is all you need.
Correct. Exactly.
Yeah.
The ceaseless really buffs that like likelihood of that up. And
now, obviously, you do need to have all hits because if they can just parry your normal and you don't have anything else to follow up.
But with ceaseless, you are very likely to have all 3 hits.
Yeah. I guess my thought with that is it's kind of like an Astartes team in the sense where is that your thought that you're going to have blade ambush and the shooting gunfire ambush up in the same turn to make these kinds of plays?
Well, so bear in mind, one of their scouting options just straight up gives you a CP.
Sure.
So going into Turning Point, because you're not spending any CP on anything, Turning Point 1. So going into Turning Point 2, at a minimum, you're having 5 CP, maybe 6, right? So because you're only going to be spending on Blade Ambush and Gunfire Ambush, maybe Stealth Relocation, it depends. So 3 at the most. And then obviously you have Astartes, so you'll burn through it quick. That is true. So because Astartes training, and then if somebody gets injured or something and you really need them not to be injured, you can kind of wipe that out too. So 5 CP you're spending max. It depends on the situation.
Yeah, but it is a Space Marine team, and in Space Marine teams, you want to be spending to hit that hammer as hard as you can when you're swinging it.
Yes, and like I said, in a scenario like, for example, where I just mentioned, if I kill 2 mandrakes and then I'm able to kill 2 more mandrakes, that's just the end of the game, right? Like your opponent has to be like any team that has 8 or 7 wounds against scouts needs to be constantly managing, like, especially if I've not given out the once per battle APL modification, like, oh, where is he going to get this double kill, right? And keeping your opponent on your toes like that while they're thinking about 10 other things is a great way to just surprise them in general. But it is hard to manage. They can be surprisingly fragile scouts if they're not in cover. If they're in cover, they're very resilient to shooting because of the cover saves from the camo cloak. But they're very weak to like power swords, anything with like 5/5 rending melee, because they don't have any fighting shenanigans. Like they don't have like a fallback for 1 or like anything like that. So that's why I'm recommending going shotgun spam, because that is where they're gonna get their kills. That is where they're strongest, and also they all have access to like potentially getting smoke and stun grenades as well. So if you're taking this team, just lean on your shotguns, and I guarantee you'll find a little bit more success.
The 2 thoughts I have about these scout changes, I like the changing to targeting oculars to echo you. Obviously, it's extremely useful, but it's also obvious the way that they've changed equipment in this edition. It's not supposed to be a thing that only really works well for one operative. It's supposed to be something that the whole team can benefit from. And when it's just giving you saturate, it's really only good for the sniper or, the one operative you've got parked up on second floor vantage awaiting his anime fight. So I like that because it's consistent, it's thematic, and, obviously above all else, it's useful, right? And I think the other thing, to your point, Joe, you're talking about where scouts are going to be a hard team to play. I think that they're going to have the Blades of Cain problem, or I'm not even sure you'd call it a problem. They're going to be like Blades of Cain in the sense where it's going to be a high skill team that a good player can take to like, a casual game or like maybe mid-tier tables and probably just, do really well with, just because of the amount of rules and the amount of things that an opponent is going to have to remember and manage outside of what they might in another game against a more popular or a team with less rules. So I think that it's the sort of thing that is going to give you a little bit more of an edge, outside of the top tables. And also I do think that, they're like Vespids, they're viable. They can make it through the tournament. I obviously think they're a little bit better than Vespids, but yeah, I think that they're in a pretty good spot now.
And I will say a fun little thing I figured out before we move on. Potentially, if you have done it right, you can have 3 normie scouts with 3 APL, and then your sergeant for 4 guys on 3 APL to start off a second turning point. So that can be very scary for your opponent to play against. So we'll see if I can do
my Hand of the Archon does that with everyone on the team.
Yeah. You still died at fucking 2 pumps, 1 pump of a shotgun. I don't want to hear it. Which I did the math against your ceaseless defense dice. With the lethal 5, I still will kill you with a 70% chance.
Yeah, I just don't get shot.
T-shirt coming soon.
Well, Mark, since we went through, each one of us went through a team. What team are you interested in with their changes?
Yes.
So I think the team that I was most excited to play after looking at their buffs was the Gellerpox infected. Fans of the pod will know that that was one of my very favorites from the previous edition. Definitely got nerfed pretty hard at the start of the edition between the changes to the core game, and obviously they got a lot of rule changes between the nerfs to their movement, the nerfs to draw the hum, lots of different things, just kind of like whittling down their power across the board. But I was optimistic that with the Hulks maintaining their power outside of like their movements, that this team would still have a lot of play. Had a hard time with them at the start of the edition, but I'm happy. I think that they're basically in the same spot as Vespids and Scouts, not in terms of like their tier, but they're viable again. And I think the number one thing that really helped this team out is the changes to Heavy Barricade. Just having somewhere that you can put on any map to put a Hulk at, to stage them where they're prepared to go onto an objective, but they don't have to just camp out on the objective and wait to get shot. Amazing, incredible, super nice that change opens, or that change coincided with the changes to all of the techno curses, right? So one of their faction equipments used to affect the range on your curses. Now each curse just has an inherent range. So barrel warp, old reliable from the previous edition, to reduce the number of attack dice that people are shooting you with when they're close by. That goes back to how it was before: 2 inches of a Hulk or a mutant and 3 inches of a glitchling. Screaming rust spikes, it's a fighting ploy, so it only works in engagement range, but that one's still a really good ploy, especially into certain teams, because if they retain any misses, they just take damage off the rip.
Yeah, but it was funny to Plague Bellows Screaming Rust Spikes. So before you could Plague Bellows Screaming Rust Spikes and just have bubbles of, oh, did you miss? You take 3 damage now.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a bummer that you can't do that kind of a cheese anymore, but I think that it's better this way.
Definitely better this way, because Barrel Warp was fucking useless.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Viral Vox Static, it's like that got a huge buff to its range. So now that just inherently, if you're within 3 inches of a mutant or a Hulk or 4 inches of a glitchling, it's going to prevent enemy operatives from adding to their APL stat.
Huge deal.
So that's going to be really good into matchups like Hand of the Archon. It's going to be good into Rekkas, lots of other teams too. But with those changes, now that those ranges are just on the curses themselves, it changes the equipment around a little bit. So now Plague Bellows, instead of doing that, it gives you a chance to retain a defense dice result of 3 as a normal success if you're getting shot at from more than 6 inches away, which is a really good equipment choice. But also, now that it's not a mandatory thing just to make Barrel Warp work, it opens up an equipment slot that was an auto take before to take either the new and improved Plague Bellows or to take a Heavy Barricade. Super, super good.
And the fact that Revoltingly Resilient works on a 4-up instead of a 5-up now, big deal.
Big deal for sure. Yeah, it's definitely better. I think that this team still has the same problems that it had before. I think that in the current meta, where you need a lot of mission actions to do stuff, or I also think that the large scale access to stun grenades is going to hurt this team a lot. But I think that they're viable again. I think that you can go into a lot of games with them and have as good of a chance as anybody to, claw your way up to the top. Like the game I played against them, I played against Hyrotech on Into the Dark, and I got the win by 1 point, just playing patient, playing contain, and it worked pretty well. It's a team that I'm excited to play more. It's a team that I think I'm going to play some, but I don't think I'm going to play them for like Cherokee.
Yeah, it's such an interesting team that I kind of want to bring out myself again, because I think that it just looks like I really like the new Technocurse rules. I think there's a lot to dig into here.
I think so too. I also think that obviously that's going to be the key to unlocking them at the highest levels, is really knowing when to use Technocurses, when to take the equipment to let you double up on a Technocurse for an activation. Like, I think that sort of stuff's going to make the team really, really good. But I'm still sort of at the point where it's, I really have to be on top of remembering stuff like these new rules. Like I remember I played a game with Gellerpox sometime in like November, I think it was in our last league. And I was playing against Plague Marines, and I took Screaming Rust Spikes, and I think I remembered to like deal the damage with it like once. It was just, foolish mistake, but obviously like remembering these things and then really kind of digging into how to activate these things in the right situations to really accelerate your game at the top level. Something I'm interested in, and hopefully something that we can share with you all in the near future. I think we've got time for maybe like a lightning round, but is there any other like quick hitter things that you guys want to touch on? Just thoughts from the data slate as a whole?
Inquisition
Anything
got
that
fucked.
Inquisition definitely got hurt.
They're. I understand why they cannot take more than 2 piercing 2 weapons. Or more than 1. That I get. But they also can't take more than, 2 or 3?
The way it's written, it seems like it's 3 total piercing weapons, excluding piercing crits. So it's a piercing 2 weapon and then 2 piercing 1 weapons.
Which, yeah, it's a lot of pressure. I don't know. I didn't feel that pressure whenever I played into Inquisition. I played into Inquisition, I think, once at LVO when I was on 5 or 6 wins. So it's pretty high up there. The Quest Keeper, their hit stat went back to 4 up, which is a damn shame. You can't get 2 Tome Skulls anymore, which is a damn shame.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest problem is that it didn't change the internal balance of the team that much. Like, even though that they nerfed the impact that Casterkin can have with the team, it still seems like you're going to take Casterkin in 9 out of 10 games.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see any particular reason to do so other than taking Sword Sisters into Warpcoven, and even then it's arguable. You also,
I mean, you could take Exaction into a melee heavy team just to charge block and then whittle them down.
Yeah, but I still think Kazarkin are just the obvious choice.
Hyrotech Circle.
Yeah, Hyrotech Circle.
Hyrotech Circle, they got hurt pretty hard too. Coming back on 1 wound is definitely changing the way that I think you have to play the team. Just it feels like the right thing to do now is to wait until the very end of the turn to reanimate somebody with your reanimator, so that way you're pulling them up and hopefully they're not getting shot before they get living metal, all that sort of stuff. Nerf to the Nightmare Shroud.
They clarified Magnify so that it works in a not dumb way, like I've been saying.
Yeah, so that's a good buff to the team overall, I think. But I don't think it's enough to counteract the reanimation change. And then I think that, I mean, the Nightmare Shroud change I think is good. I think it's warranted. I'm not sure. I definitely think that the Psychomancer isn't going to be the de facto auto take every single time anymore. But I also don't know enough about the team to say what the new best Cryptech's going to be.
Dude,
I mean, maybe it's still the Psychomancer.
After the clinic that got run on me at LVO by the Hyrotech player I played, there is no other leader except for the Chronomancer, because there is no other power besides teleport. Straight up.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. Absolutely. I think the nerf to Tesla Weave was pretty good, pretty warranted, though. Now it's not you can play against them as melee again, and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's still good because you're still going to deal damage, but it's not going to just absolutely melt people without any sort of counterplay.
It does, in fact, more damage if you only charge 1, but it does significantly less damage if you multi-charge.
Joe, any quick hitters, parting thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, particularly teleport is still super strong. They got rid of the whole counteract guard thing, so that'll hopefully, not be as big of an issue, but it's still super strong. I am a little sad they kind of fucking killed the Technomancer. I wish his buff would have just been D3+3. It would have made him probably interesting as a healer, as a way to kind of counteract only being on 1 wound on the revive.
I mean, I think it's consistent with other healers is the thing, though.
Right, but all those other teams are not reviving people, and it's
those
not
other teams don't heal at the start of the turning point either. I
Right,
mean,
my point.
I agree that I think that this, like, it, to George's point, I don't think that a nerf like this is going to make the Technomancer like a more appealing choice when the probably most powerful and most abusable rule at this point is going to be the teleport.
Teleport's only game in town.
Well, I was just gonna say, I like seriously, you should never take the Technomancer now. Like, there's no reason to.
You should not take any gun except for the Chronomancer, because teleport is legitimately the only game in town. Like, I'm not making a joke. That's the only game in town.
I wouldn't agree with that. I still think that there is some functionality for the Psychomancer that you would like occasionally take him, but I do think you're mainly taking the Chronomancer. Agreed.
So I remember at the top of the show, I was kind of positing that I think that I know kind of what's going to happen with the meta. And I think that what I'm thinking is that we will end up in a situation where obviously a lot more teams are viable now, but I think we'll end up in like a weird kind of a rock, paper, scissors meta where, you know, elites are going to do really well into a lot of stuff, but then like elves are going to probably beat elites in a lot of cases. And then I think like hordes and mid range are probably going to have like the run over elves if, you know, you're taking a good comp. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think people are going to be very annoyed with the elves in the next couple months.
Maybe. I think the problem with elves is that good elf players are a menace and that they are few and far between.
Yeah, definitely tricky teams with, you know, and you have to be a good pilot to get the most out of them. Gonna need to get some rest for us to get the most out of you, George. Hope that you continue on the path towards recovery, man. Make sure you're getting some vitamin C.
Dude, I have drank so much orange juice.
Joe, don't you go dying between now and the next podcast. Stay inside, stay safe.
Oh no, don't worry. I'm God. I am immortal. And you all should worship me.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Vox Screening. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. Please follow, subscribe, and leave us a review. Any of those things are going to help us grow. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another episode.